It's a stunning indictment to look at. But that little thing about checking that box on the tax return, that's a simple yes or no matter of law. Only one of those answers can be true and legal.
Well, one answer is true, the other answer is a lie, and a lie to the federal government becomes a crime. This is significant for the future of Paul Manafort because people cases based on testimony can always be argued. And if you get the best lawyers, there are things that can be done. Ask Robert Durst. Paper cases that come back to what you just outlined there in your reporting, what we know from the wire transfers. This is a 31-page indictment. About 8 pages of it is just wire after wire after wire. That's a paper case, very hard to overcome.
And Joyce Vance, Manafort's lawyer said, you know, the charges are ridiculous today, offered absolutely no substance to that criticism. But this one, I'm isolating it because it's so simple. You admit under the pains and penalties of perjury on your tax return that you do or you do not have foreign accounts of any kind, and Manafort's tax return says that he doesn't, and we have established exactly what these accounts are, what countries they're in, and how much money's in them.
Prosecutors love charging this kind of count. It's called 1001, making a false statement to the federal government. Really, the only issue is that the government has to prove that the false statement is material. Here it clearly is. This is going to be a very difficult part of this indictment for Manafort to slip out from underneath.
And Ari, as we go through the indictment, I know you were as stunned as I was when we opened up into the middle of it, and we find out how this money, how he's moving the money out of these foreign accounts and paying bills directly in the United States. That's pure tax evasion because he's not declaring any of this income. And one of the entries, just one of them, men's clothing store in New York, $849,000 in one men's clothing store over a number of years. And Ari, I have a feeling in your lifetime you have not spent $849,000 on that very dapper wardrobe.
It's got to be one heck of a suit or one heck of 1,000 suits. I think what is striking about it is not only the, quote, lavish lifestyle. That was what Special Counsel Mueller used there, and that gives you a preview of how they're going to make the case to a jury about not only what is on paper, as we discussed, that's the evidence, but also really making out how disgusting and objectionable this kind of behavior is. But there's another piece to it, as you understand, which is it's also evidence of how orchestrated the money laundering was. You know, if you had one thing and you said, you know what, it was a weird day, we paid a lot in cash, who knows? But this is very clearly record evidence of all the different ways they kept moving the money around. And what is hanging over this, and you were just covering some of this earlier in the broadcast, is whether this is the end of it, which is possible and still could carry a very long prison term, or whether this is only part of it. Because the other guilty plea today, information there, seems to refer to Manafort and other potential criminal liability and raises the question, why was so much money moving around? Maybe there were things going on with oligarchs and other unsavory sources that weren't just about being greedy and not wanting to pay the tax bill. Maybe there were other reasons that he had to be extra careful.
And Joyce Vance, it seems to be, the indictment seems to be a case study in money laundering. You see the money spent on clothes, including on that men's clothing store, 1 year was $200,000, but also hundreds of thousands of dollars in a given year on Range Rovers, cars, Mercedes-Benz. This is classic kind of gangster drug dealer money laundering, is that they go to the Mercedes-Benz dealership and they basically try to pay cash or pay in various instruments that won't be traced. And here is Manafort paying these car dealers, buying real estate in Manhattan, buying real estate around the country, paying gardeners hundreds of thousands of dollars on his mansions in the Hamptons, all direct payments from these foreign accounts, wire transfers from foreign accounts.
It's a remarkable looking scheme. It looks, I think, Lawrence, like you said, a lot more like what you would expect from a drug dealing operation than from a white collar criminal sort of an operation. This indictment has something for everyone. It has the high substance charges, the real estate transactions that allow Manafort and Gates to extract a lot of their ill-gotten gains in the form of loans guaranteed by the real estate. It also has some jury appeal if this case goes to trial, because with all due respect to Ari's ties, juries really hate this kind of extravagant expenditure, what Mueller called the lavish lifestyle. And so juries seeing these sorts of allegations like to convict defendants.
I didn't know on Bob Mueller's big news day that someone was going to take a shot at my ties again. I will just add one brilliant...
Your clothing has never looked more modest when we compare it to the Mueller indictment clause.
Clearly. There's one other brilliant thing Bob Mueller did in the way he structured this, which is, if this remains only a case about pre-campaign activity, more or less, that's actually a good thing for Bob Mueller, because he's putting everyone on notice that he has that authority. He presumably gave Rod Rosenstein the heads up. He also has a Russia-related guilty plea, as you've covered. But he can add to this, and it could become more Russia-related, or he can leave it right here. And what he is saying to everyone touched by this probe today is, I can go after Russia, and I can also go after old stuff back to 2007, and Rod Rosenstein's not stopping me.
Joyce Vance and Ari Melber, thank you both for joining us.
Thank you,
I really
Lawrence.
appreciate it. Thank you.